Good Monday morning, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Meteorologist Johnny Lively for our forecast of what to expect this week. Also taking a look at Tropical Depression number 2. It is awfully quiet this morning thanks to Tamco Live Doppler radar showing us what's going on. You can see we see a little bit of radar noise going on this morning when sunrise came up. The Houston radar is still down right now for some maintenance. But other than that, not much going on in our neck of the woods. But if we zoom out, we can see that Tropical Depression number 2 is still bubbling and giving off some showers and thunderstorms. You can see that broad area of spin bringing in all that rain into portions of Florida. They need the rain. They just don't need any flooding. And so far, we're not seeing any flooding concerns. But we can still see the Tropical Depression number 2 is still well off towards the East Coast or Eastern Gulf Coast, making rain over there to sections of Florida. You can see on the satellite and radar, dry air still kind of getting into the center of Tropical Depression number 2. This is one of the main reasons this is not a tropical storm. And again, yesterday we talked about it, that the convections in the storm is mainly going to be located on the southern side and the western side. And you can actually see that on the satellite presentation. No healthy center. Lots of storms on the southern and western side. High pressure off towards the southern plains is really kind of shoving down a lot of that dry air. And they're also seeing the wind shear kind of keeping this in check. So both of those things are not allowing this to rapidly intensify by any means. If it does anything at all, it's going to be somewhat slow strengthening today into tomorrow. We could see Tropical Storm Bertha develop at that time. And then a lot of big questions. By the time we get into Wednesday morning, does this go into somewhere from Pensacola into Mobile, or does this get closer to the New Orleans region? And then after that, does this ride the coast? And if it does, this will continue to actually keep weakening. Now, the moisture field will get into southwest Louisiana and southeast Texas, but the good news is this continues to keep moving. It doesn't stall. But if it continues to keep riding the coast, look at the wind speeds. The highest we'll actually see is today getting into tomorrow into Wednesday. And then if it rides the coast, this will actually continue to keep weakening. Dry air and wind shear and the land interaction. And again, because it's moving, this will not be a big rainmaker for southwest Louisiana, southeast Texas. Now, you do see that the cone of uncertainty still has this very strong, or this very far southern route here. And if it does do that, which I haven't seen this just yet, it has not been going further southwest, but we'll continue to keep watching this, then it has a chance to slowly strengthen. That's one thing we'll watch. But even if it does do that, that will be so far offshore for us, this will not be an issue. So even both of these routes, none of these look too concerning for us right now. We're looking at minimum impacts Thursday into Friday. This just raises our rain chances Thursday, especially on Friday. Might see some gusty winds at time, 20 to 35 mile per hour winds, kind of what we've seen off and on this summer. Flooding concerns would be well offshore and mainly well off towards our east. So far, not too concerned with Tropical Depression number 2. We'll talk more on that in just a second. One of the things I'm actually more concerned about is the next couple of days is the heat. We're going to get into the middle to upper 90s, heat index 100 to 107 degrees, so definitely take some breaks, stay cool. It's going to be hot, especially now until Wednesday into Thursday. We actually get close to the 100-degree mark as we get into Wednesday. So thanks to Modern Concrete showing us what to expect for today. So our future cast right now, there's Tropical Depression number 2. Off into the eastern Gulf. We've got this area high pressure. This is what's going to kind of steer this off towards the west. The question is how close does it really kind of get to New Orleans region by the time we get into Wednesday? And then again, high pressure will continue to make this kind of go westward. And by the time we get into Friday, we'll see this moisture field in this general region. But again, a lot of the heaviest rain likely will be towards the south and towards the west because of this high pressure kind of shoving everything towards the coast and mainly offshore. And we'll show that just a second. Right now, we're just seeing the Futurecast sponsored by Switch Electric. We're really watching the steering of this as that high pressure kind of bringing it westward. So again, here's the atmospheric moisture sponsored by Tamco. You can see lots of moisture into the eastern Gulf Coast. They can get some locally heavy rainfall. You see how stretched out this is. By the time we get into Thursday and Friday, we actually have a weak frontal boundary that's going to shove all of this moisture mainly along the coastline. So what I'm just trying to say is that if we're talking worst case scenario, the potential for flooding is really along the coast. I don't see this going far inland. This is mainly going to be on the coast. And then a lot of this is really indicating that this is going to be mainly offshore. So rainfall-wise for southeast Texas, southwest Louisiana, the heaviest rain looks to be New Orleans all the way to Florida. And then even when this tracks towards us, the heaviest rain really looks to be possibly along our coastline, realistically well offshore. So I'm not too concerned with this, but we're going to continue to keep watching this, and no doubt about it. Here's our future cast for this afternoon. It's going to be hot. I mean, I'm telling you, 95 to 98 degrees, no relief from the heat. You might find a little small shower. What's that? 1% coverage, just not enough to really help us relieve us from the heat. And you can see really not much of anything. It is going to be a hot and mostly dry day today. In fact, temperatures, again, are going to continue to get warmer as we get into Tuesday, especially Wednesday. Several areas could get close to the 100-degree mark. So even with Tropical Depression number 2 kind of sneaking closer to our region, we get up to possibly 10% coverage on Wednesday for southeast Texas, maybe a little bit better coverage for southwest Louisiana, and by the time we get into Thursday into Friday, you see those rain chances kind of increase a little bit. Again, it kind of depends where exactly is Tropical Depression number 2. If it does ride the coast, we might have to ride or bring these kind of rainfall totals or rain outlook a little bit further down. And if it goes well offshore, we can continue bringing this down. So even right now, worst case scenario, not overly too concerned with this. This is just going to increase our rain chances Thursday into Friday. We will keep a big eye or watch what's going to happen on Friday. And again, don't really like showing this. You don't use these models for tropical entities, but I think this does do a pretty decent idea. So let's say tropical depression turns into Tropical Storm Bertha. That's exactly what this model's kind of showing. Might get a healthy center later today into Tuesday, so you can see recon going in later today into Tuesday. They might find a center that's worth saying that this is Tropical Storm Bertha. But look at all the heavy rain and convection well offshore, towards the south and towards the southwest. Not too concerning. And then, if it makes its way towards New Orleans, like we've been mentioning, again, look at it riding the coast. Looks scary, right, on the cone of uncertainty. It comes right towards southeast Texas, southwest Louisiana. Well, here it is, coming right at us. Heaviest rain offshore, just off towards the west. Again, we'll keep watching it. We'll see if it gets stronger. But right now, even if this thing does a straight beeline for Beaumont, southeast Texas, and Houston, a lot of the rain could stay well offshore or just towards the west. So you can see, I think this model, it might not do a great job, but I think it is kind of telling a pretty decent story that even if this tries to get its act together, the heaviest rain looks to be well offshore or just off towards the west. So we're going to definitely keep an eye on Tropical Depression number 2. There's no doubt about it. And again, we've already seen this, but I just want to show yet again, even though this track looks like, it looks very scary somewhat for a lot of people. It's coming right at us. But this is more bark than bite, in my opinion, because even if we get that straight track that comes right into us, it would keep weakening because of land interaction. Heaviest rain stays offshore. If it goes further south and possibly tries to develop into a hurricane, none of that is an issue for us. That would continue going further southward. But I'm not too concerned with this right now. Again, it needs to get its act together. It has not even attempted to do that just yet. Here's the heaviest rainfall totals into portions of New Orleans to Florida. I know this model doesn't do a great job, but I would say 2 to 4 inches of rain is possible from New Orleans all the way to Gainesville. You see the heaviest rain well offshore. You can see the coastline areas. Do they start getting up to 4, 5, 6 inches of rain over there into sections of eastern Louisiana? Definitely possible. And by the time we get into Thursday, Friday, again, even if this does a straight beeline for us, some of the heaviest rain could be well offshore. We're going to continue to keep watching that. There's no doubt about this, but that's what we're going with as of right now. Not concerned with this just yet. Afternoon's going to be hot, hot, hot. Several areas getting into the middle 80s. Middle 80s, I wish. Middle 90s to a lot of us getting into the upper 90s to look at spring. Tascasita, Cleveland, getting close to 100 degrees. Thanks to our sponsor. I'm not blaming them, but thanks to our sponsor, Silsby Ford, showing us how hot it's going to be today. It's going to be a hot day today. Take breaks if you can. Stay cool. And then overnight tonight, it's going to be warm, muggy, and humid, especially down towards the coast. Low 80s. ACs are going to be working overtime. The I-10 corridor, middle to upper 70s. And then further north, you can find some middle to low 70s. And then here's our 7-day forecast for southeast Texas. Lots of big questions kind of on Thursday and Friday, but I think this is a pretty good general forecast. We're seeing some of that rain start coming back into our region on Wednesday, but look at this. upper 90s today, and then we get pretty much at the 100-degree mark on Wednesday. We start seeing tropical depression number 2 start slinging some of that moisture our way on Thursday, and then our best coverage of rains possibly on Friday. The heaviest rain could be right along the coast, if not well offshore, and then we start drying out this weekend. I think the main headlines, even though it seems like it's tropical depression number 2, I think the main headlines is going to be this: hot. That's going to be the main thing. So we are going to continue to keep watching this, especially for southwest Louisiana. We start seeing that moisture start sneaking in Wednesday afternoon, mainly Thursday into Friday. We'll be watching that 30 to 40% coverage, and then we start drying out as we get into this weekend. But no matter what, it is a good time to go download our free Gulf Coast Weather Solutions app. We're talking about tropical depression number 2. We have really hot temperatures going on. So a lot's going on in the weather world. We just want to keep you guys updated. Please go download our Gulf Coast Weather Solutions app. It will keep you updated around the clock, especially looking again at the tropics. And just taking another look at the tropics right now, if we do the latest imagery right here, that's pretty much a good look. You can see dry air still kind of somewhat getting into the center of this. A lot of the heavier convection well off towards the west, well off towards the south, very lopsided. Might become a tropical storm. I don't know what the National Hurricane Center does, but to me, not very healthy right now. We'll see what it does today, especially tomorrow, because it will continue tracking in this general direction. Not really dealing with land today and tomorrow. It's not until by Wednesday it will be in this general region we start seeing a lot more of the land interaction. So today, tomorrow, this has a chance for some slow intensification, but as of right now, it's really not showing signs of it. So thanks again for tuning in to the Monday morning show. So, sorry this is a little bit longer than expected, but actually about to do a quick tropical update video. We'll have this a little bit later this morning, but have a good Monday. Stay cool. It's going to be hot. Again, I think that's the main headline this week, but we're going to continue watching tropical depression number 2. Again, have a good Monday, and thanks again for tuning in.
Gulf Coast Weather Solutions is sponsored by. Thank you for making Gulf Coast Weather Solutions one of your go-to sources for weather around the clock. From heavy downpours and severe storms to winter weather and the tropics, we've got you covered with accurate, reliable forecasts you can trust.
Next week is starting to look a little bit more stormy.
But look what's moving into the state of Texas.
Gulf Coast Weather Solutions.